Lauren here. Lauren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Lauren, and I'm a PhD student at UCT.
And what are you studying?
Water contamination on the Cape Flats. It's a whole other side of health, but let's focus on your side of health for the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I wanted to ask you today why you believe a movement like Club to the Moon is so important for women, not just right now, but into the future.
I think it's kind of for several reasons. I'm seeing a lot of lash back in the public discourse around individualism as something that we care about. Like everyone's saying, oh, everything's about community now. Like we have to step away from this hyper individualistic culture. But I also think paying attention to your individual needs and your body within a community is ultimately the best of both worlds. And I think that's exactly what your space tries to do. Um, so being able to kind of locate your own bodily experience in a community of women and kind of build that relationship to yourself as you nurture really amazing, beautiful connections with other people. That to me is, I mean, what more could you want from a community? Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And then, in terms of understanding our internals, what about creating that reconnect with your internal functions and its relationship to how you show up externally has been, I'd say, like fundamentally like transformative
I
in nature?
think I think it's honestly because I mean I wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up and I watched a lot of medical shows and like looked into a lot of medical books and it was always these like very almost like vulgar depictions of what actually happens inside your body. And I think a lot of people have paranoia about even thinking about their veins or their blood or their hormones or their uterus or anything to do with it because it just feels like really gory in a
Yeah,
way because
yeah,
of the depictions we've seen. And I think what To the Moon has taught me is that my body is a magical place
yeah.
and that there's so much internal magic that's happening with my hormones and that it's actually a really beautiful experience to learn about. And it's not a biology textbook. It's not Grey's Anatomy. It's its own unique, like effervescent, wonderful creation. So yeah, I would say that what's really interesting is the way that this education system has been structured. It really has a completely different feel to learning about the body in other ways that I've encountered or seen the body depicted in other ways.
Yeah.
Like you really have a unique and beautiful way of framing
Thank you, Lauren.
women's bodies and their hormones that
I
I
really,
really appreciate.
I
It's
really
such a gift.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's just I'm just trying to facilitate the space because of course I'm always very honest about the fact that I don't have accreditation around health around my name. It is just through my lived experience, and that's why it's been important for me to say that this is like in combination and in collaboration with the existing healthcare space, perhaps just like with a slight reframing. What are your thoughts about that?
I have really strong thoughts about that because I honestly have very good personal relationships with lots of people who do have very lofty qualifications. And something that doctors are saying more and more is that you are actually the expert of your own body because no doctor lives inside of it.
Yeah.
In a consultation room where a doctor sits with you for 15 minutes and gives you a diagnosis, like yes, they do have more medical background, but even as the doctors I've spoken to have said, like you actually are better equipped to understand what's happening in your body.
Yeah.
So but making sure you actually are using the very valuable decades
Yes.
long research that have been
Yes.
done in all of these fields.
Yeah.
So it's like drawing on that knowledge but finding a way to personalize it to your own body because also doctors are completely overworked in this country. So
Yeah.
I really feel like a program like yours stands beautifully in between fostering really like science-based approaches to your hormones and to your health and it funnels that directly into the individual woman's experience, which is completely different from what I have personally encountered in doctors' rooms and which
Yeah.
doctors have often expressed a lot of regret that they can't do.
Yeah.
So I actually think you're standing in the gap,
Thank
like
you.
in the most beautiful way.
Thank you. So my,
Yeah.
my thing about our mission is bridging the gap in women's wellness. It stands
It
true.
it does. It does. And it stands true not only for women like me who have sat on one side of the doctor's desk, but it also stands true for the doctors that sit on the other side of the desk. Like sometimes it does feel like health health is something that only comes into play when there's an emergency
Yeah.
in your life. And like that's very true for me. What
Yeah.
drew me into this movement was an
Even me.
emergency in my body.
point. But anyways,
Yeah,
that's
it did its thing. It did its thing.